Let's get it going. Let's get it going. We back. Another episode of Slam Presents No Pump Fakes. And we got two-time champ Norris Cole on the pod. What's up, man?
What's going on? What's going on? Appreciate y'all having me.
I already know,
Yes,
man. I
sir.
already know. We see you got the repping the Cleveland State gear, so much respect.
Cleveland State, baby.
Already know. I respect it. I was telling you before we started recording how to represent with the UConn gear, so ain't nothing wrong with showing love to it's cool. Respect.
Yes, sir.
So off rip, I don't really like to waste time, with long intros and stuff like that. So we could just get right into it. Norris Cole, I have a question for you. Me and Ahmad get into it back and forth about this, and I figured I would present you with this question as well. How do you feel about zone defense? No, because we're gonna talk about some things. We're gonna talk about the Miami Heat and stuff like that. No, I can't ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to hear his thoughts on zone defense. It just came to my mind literally before we started recording. That's all. So I figured I ask him a question. How do you feel about zone defense, even though we are admitted into this podcast? That's the first thing I want to talk about.
Individually, I prefer to play man-to-man defense, but I believe it has to do with your team. So if your team is not built up with, guys that can defend at a high level man-to-man, then I believe playing zone defense periodically is a good strategy, can be a good strategy. Playing it for a whole game at the pro level, nah, I don't necessarily believe in it. But, I'm a man-to-man help side type of guy rather than a zone defense type of guy. So it depends what level of basketball you're talking. Now, high school, college, zone is definitely necessary. Definitely necessary. But you can still teach man-to-man principles, kind of like Jim Boeheim does. But I'm a man-to-man guy. All my life I've been taught, be able to contain the ball at least 2 to 3 dribbles, and then as a help defender, always be ready to help.
And
that's a good question right off the rip.
We here. I told you before we started recording. It was,
And that's a good. I mean, and talk about the different zones that you played with the Miami Heat, because you guys played zone on your run, 2-time champion, of course.
Yeah, not much though. Not much.
Yeah.
I mean, when we did play, it was more like we really never really played it that much, honestly. But it was more like a matchup.
Yeah, matchup zone.
Like a matchup zone. You play man to man in your area with the help side principles. Mostly 2-3 though, like the basic 2-3, but it was basically a matchup because most teams are going to overload, and the zone player on the opposite side, he's not guarding anybody, so he has to go through with the overload, and then it turns into a man-to-man anyway. So it was just a matchup, and mostly we did it to slow a fast-paced team down, just to make them slow down, and then we got right back to man-to-man to make sure the floor was balanced. So yeah, it was always temporary if we ever did do it.
But Cole, was it still necessary though? Because I have a friend here, Theus. He says he hates teams that play zone. He thinks zone.
No, it's necessary. It's definitely necessary. It's a part of basketball. It's a part of basketball. You gotta be able to have different schemes, different strategies in order to win. If you give the same look every single time, teams will figure that out. So sometimes you gotta throw a rabbit in the hat sometime, and then go back to your precious man-to-man.
Okay, and so I still disagree. Just because he explained it to me, I'm not going to disagree. That was a good explanation. I see what he's saying, but I still disagree. So my thing is, though, too, you talked about the difference between playing zone in the NBA versus college and high school, right?
Right.
So obviously, with there being defensive 3 seconds in the pros, how do you is there any other difference you feel like it should be played versus in the NBA versus the college level, or is that just it?
Well, the defensive 3 seconds is a difference too, but the players are a high level player. The shooters in the NBA are some of the best shooters in the world. So you can't give up open shots at a steady pace to the best shooters in the world. They shoot your lights out. So that's why nobody plays a steady dive zone in the NBA, because every team has a guy that they're paying 10, 15, 20 million dollars to make 3-point shots open, so you can't play a steady dose of zone because you'll get shot out, in the NBA. But at the college and the high school level, the talent level sometimes is not equal. There's not as many, great shooters, great, decision makers as far as point guards. In the NBA, you got point guards that can break a guy down and get inside of a zone, and then you got alley-oops, you got weak side corner threes. So it's hard to play a zone defense for the whole game in the NBA. But like I said, sometimes it's necessary to slow the pace down. If a team is trying to get 110, 120 possessions or whatever, and you throw a zone in there to cut that down, that's pretty good strategy,
Okay. From a strategy standpoint, I think the two of you are on the same page in terms of overall. If you got to play zone to win the game, you play zone. Very simple.
Yeah. Only if you have to. I'm not saying every
right. That's what, yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you're saying that if you have to. My question is too. I think we all just talked about it from a hooper's perspective, or actually playing the game perspective. But let me ask you something off that. As a fan of the game, how do you feel about watching a zone defense be played?
Well, I'm a true basketball head, so I appreciate all forms of basketball. So I'm okay with it. I don't see any problem with it. What I don't like to see is bad man-to-man defense. That's what I don't like to see. Guys just giving up layups, giving up wide open, uncontested shots, no help side. That's what I don't like. So anything that's going to create a competitive game, I'm okay with it. In the NBA, it's, they've made it more about entertainment, so the rules favor a lot the offensive players, even though this year they kind of changing that, and I'm liking it. Yeah, I'm liking it because it makes a great offensive player really have to go into his bag, and it gives the defense a chance to really compete. Because before, man, when you can't touch a person, or when an offensive player can, reach his arm out and entangle yours or jump into you unnaturally and they call fouls, it kind of creates a disadvantage. So I like that they're even in the playing fields.
It's crazy because we're talking about defense right now, and me and Theus always talk about like the difference when it comes to like perimeter defense and like help side defense. Like too many times I and Theus feel like, you know what? A lot of guys that win a Defensive Player of the Year awards, they're great rim protectors and great like help side defenders. But when I think of defense, I think of guarding. Like I want to hear like your opinion on that.
Well, it's a combination of both. When you're talking about big men, 7-footers, they're not going to guard out on the perimeter. But if they're elite at protecting the rim, because the ultimate goal of the game is to put the ball in the basket and to keep the team from putting the ball in the basket. And so a good defender is able to do just that. So if that means he's good at blocking the ball and securing the defensive rebound, that's a form of defense. Or if you have a guy who can contain, on the dribble on the perimeter and contest shots and hold a guy who shoots, 50% to 42%, that's also a great defender as well. So I think it's just the positioning they're in on the court. I'm like you. I prefer, perimeter defenders get a little bit more credit. But in this day and age, it's going to be hard because there's so many possessions in the game. A guy's going to score and get his averages. That's just going to happen. But if you can keep his percentages down, I believe that guy should have a little bit of an advantage, to win, make Defensive Player of the Year, or the guy who can do a combination of both. Mm-hmm. But Rudy Gobert, like, for example, he's exceptional at protecting the basket. Yeah. He's not just your average shot blocker. He's like exceptional at holding the paint down. You know what I mean? And then you also got, other shot blockers. I remember Hassan Whiteside back when he was playing with the Heat. He was the same way. He was exceptional at securing the paint. So guys like those two guys, they deserve Defensive Player of the Year. Then you got guys like Draymond Green. He's a combination of both. He can guard, certain guys. He can guard, most bigs. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the elite bigs are going to get, they're going to get theirs. But he can guard most bigs. He can help side defend at an elite level. He can step out there on the perimeter and guard. And so the combination of, defending on the perimeter, defending in the help side, defending at the rim, and securing the rebound, is a reason why he's looked at as an elite defender as well.
Yeah. So, Norris, we had Sean Marion come on the podcast before, and he talked about guarding 1 through 5. Yeah. And he talked about guarding 1 through 5. And I think he mentioned, like, most people, when they hear that, they think of like, all right, I can guard 1 through 5 on a possession. But there's a difference between guarding for one possession and being able to guard 1 through 5 for an entire game. Right. So how do you feel about that? The ability to be able to switch or guard any position throughout an entire 48.
He's exactly right. I mean, I can switch for one possession on a big, as a guard, 6'1" guard, but I'm not going to, do that for a steady diet. Obviously a post player, 7 foot, 260 pounds is going to probably score on me, but there's few guys that can actually say they can guard, 1 through 5. And when guys say 1 through 5, really, they don't mean real 5 men either. They mean 1 through 4 and can switch off on the 5. Because when you talk about true 5 men, it takes really a true 4 or 5 man to guard a real 5 man. But he's right. Most guys, when they say they can guard 1 through 5, 1 through 4, they don't mean at a steady diet. But the Matrix, he can do it. Draymond Green is another guy who's shown that he can, do it, especially in today's, basketball. He's one of the guys that can. It's not many that can, though. It's not many that can.
Would you say Ben Simmons or Anthony Davis?
Ben Simmons, I don't know about guarding a post player for a long time, but he can definitely guard all the perimeter in the 4. He can guard 1 through 4 for sure. And Anthony Davis, not the 1 so much. He can for a few possessions. He can switch out there, but not the 1 so much. But like wings, he can guard the wings, and obviously he can guard the 5s. Anything from 2 through 5. You don't want your bigs. It's hard for a big to play against a 1 for a whole game, switch for a whole game. Mm-hmm. It's not. I'm gonna try to think of one big that can do it for a whole game. I can't think of one big that can.
They're about to say there might not be one.
Yeah, not one big that can switch off on Chris Paul every time and stay in front of him for a whole game. That's not. Or Trae Young for a whole game. I don't know no. Or Steph Curry, you gonna switch off on him for a whole game? I don't see no big that can do that.
Because then it's like, is there any guy in the league that can guard Trae Young as well as Joel Embiid? It's like it's two separate positions. Like one of the smallest scorers in the league.
There's no one guy that can do that. And the closest that may be able to do it is maybe Draymond Green, maybe.
What about your?
But even him, no. Even him, that would be difficult.
What about your former teammate LeBron James in his prime? That's probably one of the best defenders I've ever seen in his prime in Miami.
Yeah, in his prime for sure. I mean, he's in year 19 now, but for sure in his prime, LeBron's one of the best, defenders. He would guard Derrick Rose some nights, Tony Parker some nights, and then other nights, Kobe Bryant and Kevin Durant. And then on other nights, Kevin Garnett, so he
that's crazy.
LeBron, LeBron
I was that when you hear it out loud, it's like, damn, Tony Parker one night and Kevin Garnett, it's.
But imagine Cole was there.
Yeah,
I know. So he was there watching it up close.
Yeah, I saw him had to guard. I remember we was playing the Celtics, and sometimes Rajon Rondo would give us fits, and so we would go to a bigger lineup. And we'll put D-Wade or LeBron on Rajon Rondo, or like I said, Derrick Rose, in the fourth quarter, we'd be like, all right, fourth quarter, all right, Bron, you got him the whole fourth quarter. And he would be like, he would do it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it would be difficult, but he would do it. And then another game, like I said, it's Kevin Garnett. That same game when he was guarding Rondo, sometimes he got to guard, Kevin Garnett. And then you got, who we played when we played the Spurs. Sometimes he would, had to guard, Tim Duncan sometime down there. So, he's one of the guys that, he's one of the few guys that could, in his prime, that can guard, multiple positions at a high level. Because a lot of guys can, quote unquote, guard. But when you start talking about guarding at elite level, LeBron in his prime, he was definitely one of those dudes.
Yeah. And talk to me too about, I guess, the versatility and the overall sacrifices that those Heat teams had to make, because obviously everyone likes to talk about the talent and the superstar status that you all have, but the idea of winning an NBA championship is not an easy thing to do. I don't care who's on your roster, right? So just how was the overall sacrifice that had to be made?
Well, everyone had to make sacrifices on the team, not just the 3 stars. You got to think great teams have great role players, and you have to have role players that are excited to be role players. And on our team, we were. I was excited to go out there and pressure somebody full court. I was excited to, push the pace of the game and go fast. even if I only shot the ball 4 times, 3 times, I was excited to play my role. Udonis Haslem was excited to box out, rebound, be physical, get a technical foul every now and then, shoot the mid range that he, his pick and pop mid range, he was only going to get, 4 or 5 shots maybe, but he was excited in his role. Mike Miller, he was excited. He was one of the best 3-point shooters in the game, but he didn't get a lot of attempts, but he was excited. The attempt that he did get, he was locked in. Shane Battier was locked into doing all the dirty work, being the 3-and-D guy. Rio is one of the most confident players you ever meet in your life. But he was excited, every chance he got to show, that he could knock down a big shot and get steals and guard the other team's starting point guard. So, we had a team that was excited to play our roles. And then obviously LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh, they had to sacrifice their stardom a little bit. Now, LeBron didn't really have too much, but D Wade was a star. You got to understand that. Like, star, like league leader in points, like all-star, like Olympian. Like, he was like number one type of guy. And he, put his pride to the side and was like, Brian, lead us. And Dwayne led us in a different type of way. And Chris Bosh, who made the biggest sacrifice, he's an 11-time in a row all-star you're talking about. He was the man in Canada. Came down to, be the third, quote unquote, the third wheel, but was the best third wheel you'll ever see. We don't win those championships without CB1. So, everyone was excited to make the sacrifices. And when you have a team that's excited to play their roles, that's when you have special groups. And we were definitely a special group.
Now, Cole, you have people that always talk about like heat culture, but you played for the Miami Heat. Can you really explain what heat culture means to you since you played on that team?
Well, it is. If you've ever played for a different team in the NBA and then you come to Miami Heat, you will experience it. Or if you play for the Miami Heat and then you go play for a different team, you will notice it right away. As soon as you walk in the building, you have accountability. The most famous thing is the weight and body fat. That's a real thing. They check your weight and body fat every week. And if you're not in the range that, Pat wants you, you can get fined. Or you will have to meet with the strength coach a lot more than, you normally would have to, which is no fun. So, yeah, it's definitely a culture of accountability. It's a culture of hard work. When you go to practice, mouthpiece and knee pads, that's a real thing. You got to wear your mouthpiece. You got to wear your knee pads, because, practice is going to be a little bit more physical than probably other teams that you're going to play for. And so they make you wear your mouthpiece and your knee pads so that you don't, get a thigh contusion. How we play defense, you don't want to knee nobody in the thigh or go knee to knee, boxing out, doing box out drills and 3-on-3 war drills, stuff like that. You wear a mouthpiece so you don't, get your teeth, stuff knocked out. So it's a real thing, but it's also a beautiful thing because we do everything first class. We travel first class, hotels first class. When we have Christmas events and parties and stuff, everything was above and beyond, so we worked hard, but we played hard too.
Yeah. I mean, being in Miami, it's only right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It's only right.
It's only right.
You got to. But going off that though, do you think that all NBA players could play for the Miami Heat?
No. I know for a fact all NBA players can't play. No, I mean, you can play there, but excel, not everybody can play there and excel. There's a lot of prima donnas, prima donna attitudes, and in Miami, that don't really fly. It don't really fly. So it's, even though it's Miami and it's palm trees and it's sunshine, it's blue collar work when you walk into that building. It's hard work when you walk in there. So if you think you're gonna come down there and just be going out, hanging out every night, and then coming into practice, slouching and not making your weight, it's not happening. It's not happening in Miami. So I know for a fact every player couldn't go there and play and excel.
What was it like as a young player getting drafted by a team expected to compete for a championship?
For me, it was great just to be drafted. That's every kid's dream, to be drafted in the NBA. I didn't know what to expect. I was just happy to hear my name called. And then once I realized I was going there, I kind of automatically knew, like, okay, this is championship or a bust. So I just wanted to prove that I could be a contributor. I didn't want to be a guy that go in there and sit the bench and, or be in the suit. I wanted to go in there and be a guy who they can be like, we drafted him and he can play right now. And so, but in order to do that, you got to prove yourself. And so my attitude was, as soon as I get down there, it's work time. I'm not there to enjoy the beach. I'm not there to, do all the extra, curricular. I'm there to prove that I'm worthy to be in the rotation on a heavy veteran championship team. Because I knew the history. Miami is not known for playing young guards, young point guards. And so I want to change that. I want to go down there and be like, I'm a young fella, but I'm ready to play. And I was fortunate enough to earn their trust and be able to be in the rotation.
Was that a tough thing to do though? Because obviously I feel like early on before you get drafted, most rookies might have that mentality, but it's different when you actually get down there, especially in a city of like Miami.
Honestly, it wasn't tough. The hard work, obviously I worked hard, but the mentality wasn't tough because where I came from, Cleveland State, Coach Gary Waters, it was hard work every day, bring your lunch pail every day, compete every day. So that's in my blood. And that's one of the reasons why they drafted me, because that's how they are. They want somebody that's going to come in, that's going to lace them up every day and get to it. And that was my attitude. I was ready to get to it against whoever every single day in practice or in the game. And so my mentality was already that. It was just a matter of learning the language, learning the terminology, learning the schemes, learning how to compete at the pro level. And once I learned that, I knew that I was capable of doing it. And then it was a matter of showing it in the game so that they trust you. It's one thing to show it in practice. It's one thing to show it in preseason. But then when coach give you some minutes, you want to show that. And like I said, I was able to do that, and I took my job serious, bro. I wasn't one of those silly young rookies. It's not that it's wrong to be silly and stuff like that, but I was more on the serious side of things. I was down there, to put in work.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ahmad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You played 140 games at Cleveland State. Do you think that kind of helped you being like a seasoned college player and then going into a situation with the Miami Heat compared to
for sure,
getting drafted as a freshman? Yeah.
Yeah, it's because at that time you got to think the Heat is the most watched team in all the sports. We was the most famous team in all the sports. So it was like lights, camera, action everywhere you go. So you have to be a little bit mature to handle that. Because, one slip up, you say the wrong thing, you get caught out doing the wrong thing, it's the camera there. And it's no, once the camera rolling, it's no taking it back. You say the wrong thing, it's headline news. Such and such from the Miami Heat said this. Such and such from the Heatles did this. TMZ this. You know what I mean? So I think going to college, being a college grad did help as far as being mature and being a man. I was a man as a rookie. I wasn't 19, 18, years old. 20 years old, I was, a seasoned, I was a grown man as a rookie. So I think that did kind of help me make that, switch.
Yeah. And so even speaking of, you not entering the league at the, as a teenager,
right.
do you feel like you had like an OG vet or that kind of mentorship from anyone on the Heat, or I guess within the entire league?
Yeah, for sure. Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard was the first person to pick me up and take me to practice when I got to Miami. Before I got my car and everything, he would pick me up and take me to practice every morning. We'd be the first ones in the building every morning. He'd pick me up, go get his coffee, and we'd go right to the gym. So he was my OG from the start. And then obviously I had LeBron. He was, we had the ties to Ohio, the Northeast Ohio area. And during that lockout time, I had went, to his house a couple times and worked out. So I had him. I had James Jones, who's the general manager now at Phoenix. He was my locker. He was right. His locker was right next to mine. So he would always talk to me about my finances, being smart, taking care of my business off the court. And then on the other side of me was Shane Battier. And he would talk to me about the same thing JJ would about, not trying to keep up with the Joneses, be smart, live in reality, don't live in this fake NBA world, live in reality. And then he would also teach me how to do a defensive scout. Shane Battier taught me how to scout my opponent and how to defend them to their weaknesses. That's how I learned it. I learned that through Shane Battier. So, I had a lot of OGs on that team. And then, Udonis, they would always call me Coach Spo. He would call me little UD. because you was like, he was mean. He was, always aggressive. He was intense. And I was the same way, on the court. I wanted all the smoke. And so I had UD that always backed me up. You know what I mean? He showed me, what the Miami life and culture was all about. No, I had a lot of OGs, man. I was fortunate because I was the youngest guy on the team for 2 or 3 straight years. You got to understand. So, I got a lot of lessons. I got a lot of lessons. D Wade too. D Wade, I wasn't able to go home for one holiday, and he allowed me to come over to his house for the holiday, and I got to see how the Wades did, Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that. And so, it was just a special team, bro. And I was fortunate to have so many OGs.
And I mean, you talk about, when you think about the situation that you entered when you first got drafted, a lot of times nowadays, guys get drafted to bad teams, or, guys get drafted to teams where everybody pretty much the same age, like 23 and under. But you went to a team where there was a lot of veterans. So how do you think that overall helped your development?
I think it helped a lot. Because even though I was on a veteran team, all of them, they wasn't like kind of quote unquote old. Like LeBron was still in his 20s. He was in his late 20s. D Wade was in his late 20s. CB, late 20s. Obviously Shane, Mike Miller, JJ, they were in their 30s. Ray was in his 30s, but they were in they were in their late 20s and early 30s, which is, I think, prime time, But I think in the league now, they need more veteran players to help, with these young guys, because how can you learn if you don't have anybody to show you? And most good teams are not filled with young players. There's a little bit of both. You have some young guys, you have some guys in their prime, like mid to late 20s, then you have some veteran guys. Just think of the Warriors. When they were doing their thing, there wasn't a super young team. They had guys in their mid, late 20s balling out. Then they had the veteran, guys off the bench. And then they had a couple, 1 or 2 young guys, I think when you have the combination, those are the best teams. Teams with all young guys, it's going to be hard for them to win. It's going to be hard because they're still trying to figure it out. And so, I'm a believer in vets.
Can you talk about how hard it is to stay in the NBA once you get into the NBA?
Oh, man, it's hard to get in the NBA. It's even harder to stay there because every year there's a draft. There's 60 more players that's coming in. And so that's why you always work on your game in the summertime. That's why you always keep your body in shape. That's why you try to find your niche in the league and be adaptable, because there's always new and young talent that's coming up behind you. And it is difficult. But just to be able to make it in the NBA is a blessing. And then to be able to play multiple years is even more of a blessing. And if you're fortunate enough to get to your pension, man, you're just working with house money, in the real world. We're talking about the real world here, because a lot of times people think you got to make 10, 20, 30 million to make it in life. And that's not the case. In the real world, any salary that an NBA player makes is big money. And so if you're fortunate enough to do that for multiple years and you get to your pension, you've been blessed.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah, I'm about to say, and you talk about, longevity in the league and just making smart decisions. One of the names you mentioned before, in terms of OG vets, was UD. And obviously with him being an undrafted guy, do you think that kind of had, that he played with like a chip on his shoulder as well as you, in terms of, coming from a school like Cleveland State, where it's not Duke or Kentucky or whatever, but 2 guys who may have felt like they've had something to improve on during their career?
Absolutely. I got to know UD, being down there and playing for the Heat. He definitely had that chip. Being undrafted, he played overseas before, and then came, he played in France and then came over and played. So he had that chip on his shoulder, and he brought it every day. And he brought that professionalism, that hunger every day. And I had that chip for a long time, because I only had one scholarship offer, and that was to go to Cleveland State. And so I carried that chip, my whole career. And, being able to see another person like-minded, that went through similar things, it's cool when you speak the same language. It's cool when you have guys on your team that speak the same language as you.
Talked about UD playing overseas, and you had a great, successful career playing overseas. You're still overseas right now. Can you talk about like how talented you got to be to play overseas, especially at the higher like level leagues over there?
Oh yeah, when you start talking about playing in the Euro League and the ACB Spanish League, and playing in VTB or the Turkish League, those are the French League. Those are the highest leagues you can play in. And Euro Cup, Champions League, all those things. There's a lot of talented players. There's a lot of guys that played in the NBA, like myself. I played 6.5, 7 years in the NBA, and then I've been over here for about 4 years. And there's a lot of talented guys over here that's NBA talent, but because of maybe circumstances or the league going younger, whatever the situation may be, they feel more comfortable, or they play out here and they, make a good living, earn a lot of money, play at a high level. The fan base out here is unbelievable. Obviously being in America is great, but the world is a big place, and there's a lot of great basketball fans, in other places in the world. So, I'm telling you, you have guys like Shane Larkin, you have guys like, Mike James, you have guys like Malcolm Delaney. You got guys like, Nick Kalathis is, one of the top assisters in all of Europe. Mirotic, he was in the NBA. He came out to Europe. He's, doing his thing out here. You have a lot of guys, that's talented, that's played in the NBA that are now playing out here, and it's very, very, very competitive.
Yeah, and I want to switch gears just a little bit. How do you feel, Norris, about this current Miami Heat team?
I'm excited about this team. I think the personalities match what Heat culture is about. Guys that are rugged, guys that are tough, guys that have championship pedigree. You have shooting. You have guys that can penetrate, guys that can rebound, assist, guys that can defend multiple positions. I like this team. When you have a Kyle Lowry, who's a championship point guard, you have Jimmy Butler, who's a MVP caliber player. PJ Tucker, who's a championship role player. Bam Adebayo, who's one of the best young bigs in the league. Tyler Hero, who's one of the most explosive young scorers in the league. Duncan Robinson, one of the best shooters in the league. Spo, who's one of the best coaches in the league. Hey, what's not to like?
You think they can make it out the East?
I think they have a chance to. I think if circumstances are right, they have a chance to. Obviously, Milwaukee is going to be a tough out for anybody. And obviously, when you got Kevin Durant in the Eastern Conference, that's going to be a tough out for anybody. But as a team, if anybody can beat those two teams, I believe the Heat is the team that can do it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Man said yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wild bias.
I didn't have a chance. You said yes, sir. Like
he said yes, sir. Like he might as well lob that question up for you.
They really do got a legit chance. Like even if everybody is healthy, the Heat have a chance to compete with the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets.
They got it. They got it all. Like Norris said, they got great defensive philosophy. They got guys that can put the ball in the hoop. They got guys that can defend at a high level, especially on the perimeter. And it's just like they also can switch as well with PJ, Bam, Kyle, and Jimmy Butler. Like it's serious in Miami.
It is. And then if Victor Oladipo come back and he's
about it,
his normal self, they are really a problem. Yeah.
All right, let's stir up some stuff because I can see you guys arguing with one another. That's lovely.
Look, he want to get messy. He want to get messy. I see that right now.
That's lovely. That's all good to hear. So let me ask you guys something to ruin this Heat party real quick. So my question is, right, Ahmad, I think you tweeted this, some along the lines of, I think Lowry was like untouchable or something like, right? Like Kyle Lowry, they're not going to trade him for whatever. But if Damian Lillard is available, then it's almost like a no-brainer. Not in my opinion, but just, to what some people might think.
Yeah, right. I think so. Go ahead.
Right. So, Norris, I'm not going to say if the Miami Heat were to trade Kyle Lowry, no. But on the alternative, the flip side, if Damian Lillard were to leave the Portland Trailblazers and some way, somehow be traded to the Miami Heat, what do you think that does to their championship chances?
I think it will increase their I think it will increase their chances, depending on who they have to give up, though, because Damian Lillard is a max player. So Portland Trailblazers are not going to make that trade without getting equal compensation. So you got to give up a lot. So, it depends what pieces you have to give up. But I still, whatever you may lose, and let's say a little bit of defense, Dame Lillard is going to more than make up for that offensively.
Lovely. You know what? Norris is good at what he does. He didn't say a name. Smart man. We got you though. Ahmad, what would the trade package be if you had to? Yeah, because I don't want to put Norris in that tough position. Fine. But Ahmad, I know you don't mind. So if you want to, what would the trade package look like if you were the Miami Heat?
They can have anybody on that roster except for Jimmy Butler, Bam, and PJ Tucker. That's how I look at it. For
sure, Jimmy and Bam are untouchable. For sure. They're definitely untouchable.
And I would say, and PJ Tucker's not untouchable, but you want to keep PJ Tucker.
Yeah, you want to keep him too.
You want to keep him
pedigree role player. You got to keep that for sure.
If I say it, tell the people why. Tell the people why. Yeah, naturally, people might hear.
Yeah, Norris.
I agree. It's a bigger picture. Like when you later on down the line, and when you're playing KD or if you're playing Giannis, you're going to need a guy like PJ Tucker.
For sure.
Yep.
For sure.
So you already know that. So if they want Kyle Lowry, I love Kyle Lowry, but he got to go. If they want Tyler Hero, he got to go. If they want Duncan Robinson, he got to go. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
it's
but I don't
we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening, but yeah.
I don't see that being a two-team trade if that happens, because that would have to be a 3-team trade, because Portland, they already have certain guys that play those positions, like a CJ McCollum, like the young guard they have. What's his name? Sure. Anthony out there.
Simon.
Yeah, Anthony Simon. And, they already have some players out there, wing guys. So I think that would have to be a 3-team trade or multiple team trade in order to make that happen. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Bam and Jimmy are definitely untouchable.
So I thought, Ahmad, you were going to say Tyler. I didn't think
Tyler would go.
Yeah, damn, bro, you say that without
because Tyler, because Tyler's the one guy where a lot of teams are going to feel like, he can either be Tyler Hero is going to either be a really great 6-man in this league, or he's going to have a chance to be maybe a potential all-star. So that's how teams are going to look at it. So it's just like, they're going to be like, oh, we get Tyler. Maybe he has that chance to be a potential all-star coming back in a deal with Dame. Because they know they're not going to get Jimmy. They know they're not going to get Bam. But it's just like, they probably going to want to get Tyler. Tyler's probably got to be, if the Heat are looking to trade anybody, to get anybody significantly back, Tyler Hero's probably going to have to be included in any deal.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I mean, you never know, though. The Zen man, Pat Riley,
That is true.
He know how to
finesse.
He knows how to make things happen.
Yep. He got Oladipo for nothing. For free.
That's why I said, the Godfather know how to make things happen down there.
Yeah. Trust me. That's why you got chips. That's why you got chips.
Absolutely. Hey, look, he moved up. He moved up in the draft to get me, so I know he can make things happen.
There you go.
And you was and it's crazy because you talk about like you was a very vital piece to that championship run. And it's just kind of like scouting department, Pat Riley. Like it's serious down there in Miami.
It's definitely Heat culture.
Yeah. Top tier franchise. Miami
sure.
and the Lakers.
It's definitely one of the top franchises. Yep.
Miami, the Lakers, and the Spurs. Top 3 franchises in the NBA, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, there's gonna be some Boston fans that got a problem with that statement.
They can have a problem. That's just the truth.
Yeah. There might be some Boston fans that got a problem with that statement. It ain't me. But
I'm not gonna argue. I'm just gonna say the Heat are definitely one of the top tier franchises, no doubt.
Yeah. For sure.
No doubt.
Now, Norris, there's no pump fake. So, me and Theus like to get a little spicy. So we're gonna ask you a question about. Oh, you want to go some first?
Yeah, I just got one more thing before that. So obviously, when we talk about Heat culture, I think it's important and essential that we talk about the greatest Miami Heat ever, Dwayne Wade.
Well, you know it's significant when they changed the name from Dade County to Wade County. You know that you've left your mark, and so he's left his mark on the court, obviously with the he owns just about all the Heat records as far as from a career standpoint, scoring and assists and explosive games and all of that. But off the court, what he's done in the community in Miami, the city just resonates with him. You should see how they react when they see him, and how they treat, D Wade down there. So, I mean, he's the best, as far as career goes, he's had the best career, in a Miami Heat uniform. And that's why they're going to retire his jersey, and that's why he's going to Hall of Fame, and that's why it's called Wade County. And it'll forever be Wade County.
Yep, top 3 shooting guard all time. The greatest NBA player to ever wear the number 3 jersey, in my opinion.
Yeah. See, all right, you're just starting up drama, but I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. See, that right there wasn't even necessary. It wasn't even called for.
He's in the he's definitely in the conversation. You can't leave him out that conversation.
I'm not denying it at all, but at the same time, for a fact, you're not about to say that and just think people are going to say, "Oh yeah, absolutely." There's
there's a guy named Allen Iverson out there.
Exactly.
And Allen Iverson and Dwayne Wade are my 2 favorite players of all time. But if I had to give it to somebody, I had to give it to D Wade.
Hey,
D Wade won a championship his 3rd season in the league.
Yeah, and was the guy too. He didn't just win it. He was the guy. Yeah. I mean, hey, listen. You ain't gonna get no argument from me. I mean, it's a conversation, but D Wade, I love AI too, but D Wade is the guy that I know that I went to war with. So of course I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go with Trey. We call him Trey, but just don't leave AI out that conversation either. Cause
for sure.
He was a bad man. I'm telling you right now.
Definitely bad.
Yeah.
Definitely bad.
And you talk about Dwayne Wade being that guy. I mean, AI in terms of being that guy solo and just but it's always good to have those conversations. But yeah, go ahead, Ahmad, with your original question.
It's no pump fake. So me and Theus is going to give you a player's name or anything basketball related. We want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. I'm going to start it off. Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso, the first thing that came to mind because I look at a guy that doesn't get. Norris talks about role players like in the NBA and stuff like that. He's a all-star NBA champion type of role player. Like he's very important to a lot of teams. The Bulls right now is important to Los Angeles Lakers. I want to know about Alex Caruso.
Go ahead, Norris.
I'm gonna be honest. My answer is gonna shock you, but when I think of Alex Caruso, I think of College Station, Texas A&M.
Okay.
Yeah, but he is. I think about ultimate role player though. That's the second thing. Ultimate role player.
And just for the record, y'all, the only reason why I laugh is because of all the NBA players I've ever dribbled a basketball, that was the name I was expecting to hear first. That's all.
I wasn't either. I wasn't.
We have a real.
I think Alex Caruso. I think of College Station, Texas.
Okay, but we have a real basketball player. We talk about all teams, all players.
Right. Completely understand that, but just trust me, that was not the first person who I thought.
Like you said, no pump fake on that one.
Facts. All right. So my turn. John Morant.
Star. He gonna be I believe he got a chance to be the best point guard in the league one day. As long as that Steph Curry guy running around, it's gonna be hard. But I believe in a few years, I believe John Morant could be the top point guard in this league one day.
And you know what? He believes it too.
Yeah,
he believes it too.
He don't just believe it; he's showing it. It ain't just
helps.
believing it. He ain't just talking it either. He out there doing it.
Yeah, it's a guy in Atlanta that may have something to say about that, but John Morant is, he's up there.
This dude be tiptoeing with his statements, man. Dude be tiptoeing with his statements.
I know, right? Hey, look.
Come on, man.
Say it with your chest now.
Please.
Trey Young has something to say about that.
I'm going with John Morant, though, in that argument.
I'm going with Trey.
Even though Trey is a special one, too. Don't get it twisted.
Trey's a bad man.
Trey is a bad man. But Ja, that dude, and Ja out there in the West where the point guard position every night is a jungle.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's true. All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Here go another one. Basketball analytics.
Don't like it.
Talk about it.
It's one thing to know numbers. It's another thing to try to integrate numbers into human interaction and not use your eyes. I believe analytics are helpful, but when you start making whole decisions based off of analytics and not the player, when you start looking at players as numbers, I have a problem with that. I believe that use your eyes, use your instincts, and then put it in the analytics. But when you go analytics first, I'm not one of those guys that believe in that.
Do you feel like it's a problem because a lot of guys that are in front office positions now are they probably never played basketball before, don't know the first thing about basketball?
I'm gonna say this: it has changed the way basketball is played, not for the better to me, because it's taking away some of the arts of the game. It's taking away the post-up game. It's taking away the mid-post game. It's taking away the mid-range game. It's taking away the pivots and everything. It's taking all that away, and it's diluted the game to dunks, layups, and threes. And I don't think that that's real basketball. I don't think that's the best way to play basketball.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Like this game of basketball, bro, is an art, and there's many ways of art. But when you start taking the art out the game, some of the best part of the art out the game, I don't like that, because I like the NBA when you have multiple styles.
Yep.
You had the Phoenix Suns style, you had the Lakers style, you had the Spurs style, you had the Miami Heat style, you had the Dallas Mavericks style, you had the Chicago Bulls ball. It was different styles of game. Now you look on the game, you don't even need to see the jersey sometimes. You know what's going to happen. They're going to shoot 53s. They're going to shoot all dunks. You're not going to see no post-up pivots, left hand, right hand, no mid-post head fake, no floaters, and you're just not going to see a lot of that. You're not going to see no floppy actions. You're not going to see no pin down, curls, none of that. You're going to see come down, pick and roll, and then let's get them up. And, I don't believe that's the best way to play basketball. If your team is built like that and you have players capable of that, that's cool. But, I believe that there's more to the game than just threes and dunks.
I agree.
Yeah, same here. I got one for you. A player's coach.
Ty Lue and Doc Rivers. Yeah, those guys are definitely players, coaches, and it's funny because Ty Lue came up under Doc, so yeah, I definitely Doc Rivers and Ty Lue the first names I think of when I think of players, coach, because they've played the game, they've played the game at a high level. They've coached up under some great coaches as well, so they got both sides of the coin, and so they understand when to push their team, when to call them out, but they also understand when to take their foot off the gas and let the players express themselves.
LeBron James recently just came out and talked about Ty Lue. Basically said he has no weaknesses as a coach. So that's high praise for Ty.
Yeah, that is high praise. Everybody has their, flaws, but he's definitely as close. He's as close to a complete coach as they come, especially for this generation of NBA. Because Ty Lue was, he can relate. Mm-hmm. He's not some old dude, so he ain't too far gone. He can relate to the young guys, but he can also, check, hold everybody accountable. He can, press your buttons. He got X's and O's. He got ATOs. He has good staff. He's a complete coach for sure.
Who do you feel has more of a right to be in the top 75? Anthony Davis or Dwight Howard?
Dwight Howard. I believe Dwight Howard.
Why Dwight and not Anthony Davis?
I believe people forget what Dwight did earlier in his career, how he was the best big in the league. He won 3 straight Defensive Player of the Year. He constantly led the league in blocks and rebounds. He was a franchise player on the Eastern Conference Championship team that beat LeBron, that played in the finals. I mean, if you look at the numbers and his stats,
no cap.
His stats are better. I mean, his blocks, rebounds, all of those things, his accomplishments. People forget about what he did in Orlando, bro, and like what he did in Orlando and in Houston. Everything he did before his back was hurt. Before he hurt his back, it would have been a no question. Dwight Howard was a top 75 player. Like I don't understand that.
Okay,
and that's not taking away from AD. That's just letting you know how great Dwight was. Like
Absolutely, and that's why I appreciate your explanation, because it was more
as
so
the number one option
in talking highly of Dwight as opposed to talking shit about AD.
Yeah, I don't like when people do that. I don't like when people praise one dude and dog out another player.
Right.
I ain't gonna never do that, because Anthony Davis is special in his own right, but there was a clear difference when Dwight was the top player in his franchise versus when, AD was the top player in his franchise. It was a difference. And that's an unbiased. AD was my teammate, so I know how special he was. But So
let me ask you though, what some people might argue against that and say that, well, Dwight had a better team when he was a number one option. Anthony Davis, what are you gonna say about?
And you know this, Cole, because everybody loves to talk about certain players. People were saying Devin Booker's not great, Zach LaVine's not great, and then it's just like the real ones that watch the game with their eyes and not box scores. You can tell when a player is just like missing a great team situation. So people will argue that, you know what, Anthony Davis really didn't have a great team situation compared to Dwight Howard. So that's what people are going to say when you compare those two.
Yeah, they can try to say that, but at the end of the day, AD did have some tough teams that he played for. There's no lie, but he also had some teams that kind of underachieved a little bit. And then Orlando wasn't really good before Dwight got there. They wasn't like elite like how they were when he was there. He helped build the franchise up, and then management made some moves to help him, obviously. But I mean, Dwight got to Orlando, and guess what? Orlando significantly upgraded because of him. So I
think you make the same case for New Orleans. Obviously, they didn't make the finals the same way Dwight did, but
I think the real question Theus wants to ask is, if you swap Anthony Davis and put him on that Orlando Magic team, do you think Anthony Davis could have led the Orlando Magic team to the NBA Finals? I think that's what Theus really wants.
Or also, what do you think Dwight would have done with the Pelicans?
Well, I'll say this. If Anthony Davis was with Orlando, they wouldn't have made some of the same moves because of his skill set. They made those moves for Dwight because of what Dwight brought. Dwight was an athletic freak. You know what I mean? That's what he was. He was a shot blocking, alley-oop threat, shut the whole paint down, physical freak. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He was a generational defensive talented player that also give you 20 points and 13 rebounds. You know what I mean? And so you wouldn't have made the same moves to your roster. But, if Dwight went to New Orleans, I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows? If you gave him some of those same players, Ryan Anderson, who was his teammate in Orlando, you saw what he did versus what he did in New Orleans. I mean, you don't know. Yeah, I mean, if you give him shooters like, I think part of it, man, I ain't gonna lie. I think Dwight could have did some good stuff in Orlando.
I think they both would have done well with, either organization. But one thing I would say about AD is, like, he's probably one of, like, maybe 4 players, I feel, in league history that could do every single thing on the basketball court. Like, every single thing. Like, protect the rim, even facilitate a little bit, shoot the 3, dribble, score. Right. Of course.
Better than somebody, though.
Of course.
Just because you can do 1,000 different things, I may only be able to do one thing, but that one thing might be more dominant than anything your 5 things to do. So I don't like to compare that. But AD AD is a guy that can do everything. I mean, offensively, he can shoot the mid range. He's working on his 3 ball. He can rebound. He can defend. He can, obviously he got all the offensive, game. It's just a matter of putting it together. Like, there's a difference between when you the A guy versus a support superstar. A superstar versus support superstar. Like, Giannis is a superstar. He's a number 1 option superstar. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bit of a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Ahmad, make sure your sound's on for this. Just want to make sure you're hearing everything Norris is saying. That's all.
I mean that's true, but at the same time, I mean, we did see Anthony Davis in the NBA bubble. He was not just the best player on the Lakers, in my opinion. I thought he was the best player in the entire playoffs. So it's just kind of like I get the whole like everybody's gonna say he had LeBron, but to me that entire playoffs.
No. Don't sugar past that. He had LeBron. Don't get that.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
LeBron
Stop saying LeBron's name like it's LeBron. It's LeBron James.
No.
Not for that entire run. I don't know, man. I don't know for the 2020 NBA playoffs, bro.
Listen.
I don't know, bro.
AD had a great bubble. AD had a great bubble. We're not going to downplay that, but listen, when you got that man, when you got the best player of this generation on your squad,
you're a little bit more comfortable.
Way more comfortable.
It's way more comfortable, bro. It's the same. It's the kind of the same kind of like with the Kyrie thing. Like people think of Kyrie the way they think of him because of how he looked when he played with LeBron, and he did it on the highest stage. You don't get to that highest stage without that guy to showcase it,
And that's not taking anything away from Anthony Davis or Kyrie. You feel me? That's not. Fact. It's just that when you playing with Bron, you playing with Bron. So it's like, yo, that's cool. His numbers were nice. Like I'm not taking anything away from AD, but dog,
bro, when you play with those dudes,
LeBron James, come on.
Bro. Anytime you play with a superstar, and you play well, it's going to get even boosted up more. Like even if you're a role player, like me playing with LeBron and like Shane Battier and us playing with LeBron, we got even more credit probably than we deserve because we was on a high platform playing. Yeah. Like dudes that played for those Bulls teams with Jordan, we wouldn't think of them the same if they didn't play with Jordan. It's
Steve
what they
Kerr,
played with Jordan. So you can't take away from like, hey, look, so they played with him, so we can't take him away. But if you take Jordan off those teams, some of those guys, we wouldn't look at them the same. That's just a fact. That don't mean they wouldn't be stars, but the level of stardom would be a little different.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, it's a lot of situations. It's a lot of situations.
Don't never say, oh, don't say the LeBron thing. Like, no,
don't
never ever.
Thank you. This man said, yeah, I mean, he had LeBron. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
You're right. He had LeBron. That's a big ass difference.
That's just like
that's a huge difference.
Yeah, we had the we had D-Wade, CB, and Ray Allen and all that, but I mean, we had LeBron a little bit, but no, bro, no.
Like that's
valid. That's valid.
A huge piece of the puzzle here.
That's valid.
That's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
that's valid. If you take LeBron off the Lakers, man, the Lakers would be back to like what they were in New Orleans.
They are now.
The only reason I said that because I don't know. I think Giannis is a better player than Anthony Davis because he's more dominant. I think Anthony Davis is more skilled than Giannis. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like last year Giannis didn't have a favorable situation. And he won a championship. He did what he was supposed to do. But at the same time, if you looked at those conference finals and the Western Conference finals and you looked at those 4 teams, I was like, damn. And we got this recorded. I was like, damn, like Giannis should win a championship if he's who everybody says he is. And he did it. So shout outs to him. But let's not pretend like he didn't have a favorable situation. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, hey, listen, in order to win a championship, you have to be healthy. You have to have a lot of things going for you. But
that's all I'm saying.
But listen, bro, if I tell you, if you win back-to-back MVPs, Defensive Player of the Years, and Finals MVP, and then they told you a guy who never even won an MVP or Defensive Player of the Year that he has more skills than you, what would you look at? What would you say? You would be like,
I would say a lot of those awards are very situational if you break it down because the media runs a different game than people just actually watching basketball.
We comparing the two players that you just talked about, though. We're not talking about.
I can argue that Anthony Davis should have had a Defensive Player of the Year award over Giannis. I can argue that the one that Giannis just won this past year. I can argue that Anthony Davis should have had that Defensive Player of the Year award.
Okay,
if you really
fine.
Break things down.
Even if that's what you want to address with the whole media and the awards thing, at the end of the day, Giannis did score 50 in a closeout game. So of course, all that other stuff is opinion.
Of course.
And
Giannis did do that.
Giannis built up the Bucks. The Bucks was a nothing franchise as well, and Giannis built that franchise up. So like I don't think it's the conversation that can be had at this point. Like I don't think you can really. The pedigree right now is not something that you can talk about. I mean, maybe down the line, but I mean, the man got 2 MVPs and a Defensive Player of the Year and a Finals MVP. That's like Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon, the only ones in that conversation that's done that.
Real.
Like
that's real.
I mean, that's bruh, and a 50-piece in the finals.
Close out,
bruh.
Last game of the season.
Man, that's crazy. And he had to go through KD too. Like, don't forget that.
Yeah, with a hobble James Harden on one leg.
Yeah, he did.
Kyrie Irving being out.
You can't control
like
who you playing against.
I know you can't. I'm just saying. I just said. I agree. But I'm just saying. I'm gonna bring it up. I'm not gonna pretend like those things didn't happen. That's all I'm saying.
Well, of course. But your thought towards
this year would be a great opportunity. Knock on wood, if everybody's healthy, to really showcase and prove that like some people think Giannis is the best player in the world. I think this year would be a perfect opportunity to do it.
Exactly. Thank you.
You can say that every single year of every single champion. Like, you can say that. Like, you can say, oh, this guy was old, this guy was hurt, this guy was this situation was this, that. Hey man, if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk.
Are you saying is Giannis the best player in the world, Norris Cole? Is that what you saying? That's what it seems like you saying.
Listen, coming into the season, I did say that. But the chef Curry with the pot, what he doing right now?
He's been active. He's been active.
Coming into the season, I did say Giannis. I think Giannis has taken the crown. But hey, that guy Steph Curry has made me rethink that. You hear me? Hey,
Steph made a lot of people like, damn, maybe I must have forgot who this man was.
Both of y'all forgot, because neither one the best player in the world, in my opinion.
Let that hate go, my brother. Let that hate go.
That belongs to that man in BK, but we get
let that hate go, bro. Let that hate go, man.
I mean, let that hate go. Argument can say, but that guy Chef has, we saw what Chef did with him and without him, and continuing to do.
I mean, all four are talented. All four, I think, may have a case.
You can't go wrong with none of them.
I ain't gonna argue.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue. It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up, I think. Yeah,
but gonna say, it ain't never. Hey, what this dude Chef doing, it ain't never in the history. And I'm in the history. It ain't been a cat that's the deal what he done in basketball, bro.
Yeah. That's facts. That's valid.
Hey, and
that's valid.
I'm talking about in the history, bro. This dude right here, and it's hard for me to give cats praise like this, but listen, bro. Can't nobody see the Chef, bro. It ain't no point guard that can see the Chef.
No, real recognize real. I'm not mad at it. I mean, for the first time in a long time, I think there's a real discussion among like who truly is the best player in the world. I mean, you pretty much got four options.
For a long time.
He did. And now it's like, and again, for the record, that's not a knock to LeBron. It's not. But like when you think about what the other three guys are doing, it's like, damn.
And he's in year 19. Like he's in year 19 and still a top.
He's about to be 37. That is nuts.
He's
about to be 37.
That's crazy.
In 2.5 weeks.
That is crazy. 37? Yeah. You know what the average 37-year-old is doing right now? Yes, not playing NBA basketball at a high level.
Going to happy hour or something.
Hooping out the Y.
Right.
Like, but
going to get their bench press up.
Exactly.
Being a stretch at Life Fitness. Yeah, that's real.
Ahmad, what you think, man? You think we should give him a cap or no cap? I feel like we should.
You got one?
We can. I think we can. Get one active. So Norris, basically, cap or no cap is a segment that we have where we ask you a question or present you with the statement, and you let us know if it's cap or it's no cap.
Gotcha.
All right. I'm trying.
You're gonna get messy. Look, you trying to think of something. No. Look, you trying to get real messy. I see that right now. Go ahead. Shoot your shot.
No. Me? No. Never. Yeah, I mean, Ahmad, if you have them, feel free to fly away. But let me think. All right.
I got one, because people talk about. I feel this way personally. A lot of people feel this way, but some people may not feel this way. And you talked about basketball being an art, so I want to talk about a true artist in the game. So I'm gonna say, cap or no cap, Kyrie Irving is the most skilled basketball player of all time.
Cap.
Talk about it.
Michael Jordan played this game, bro.
I said point guard.
No.
I thought no.
I heard player. I think I heard player.
I meant point guard.
That is a big ass difference. That's a big ass difference.
Hey, you need to make this real.
That is a big ass difference.
I said.
That is a huge difference.
That's a big difference. Kyrie Irving is the most skilled. Cap or no cap, Kyrie Irving is the most skilled point guard of all time.
All right. Say it one more time. Say the whole thing again. So we all know. Go ahead. That is a huge difference.
Cap or no cap, Kyrie Irving is the most skilled point guard of all time.
I'm gonna have to say Cap though.
Oh my God, you taking a long time. Woo.
No, I appreciated that though.
Yeah.
I mean that means
it wasn't an easy cap though. It wasn't one where I just yell that out. It wasn't an easy one, but
the first one was
because he's definitely one of the one. But listen, this dude Steph Curry, bro. This dude Steph Curry his skill set is unbelievable, and even though they do it differently, he don't got no weaknesses on offense, bro. I mean, he can finish left hand, right hand. He got flotation device. He got mid-range. He got isolation. He got one-on-one off the dribble threes. He's the best ever at moving without the ball and getting threes at the point guard position, moving without the ball. I mean, he could draw fouls. I mean, so it's hard. I mean, Kyrie would be maybe the next name I would say, but this dude, Steph Curry, man, the Chef Curry, man, is Steph Curry unbelievable.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I can't watch Steph Curry play and then say it's somebody else, unless someone wants to go with the narrative of Steph isn't a true point guard.
That's baloney. That's crazy.
But if that's the case, you could probably say the same thing about Kyrie. So it works hand in hand. But I'm gonna go with Steph.
I'll take Kyrie, but you saying Steph is can't really argue that. Just like
you're not
arguing with Kyrie.
Steph,
Kyrie, but crazy because Norris Cole said most skilled player of all time. He think it's Michael Jordan. I beg it different.
Hey man, listen, we can have this conversation. But even that we can all day long.
Yeah, it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying, but I think his protege. I think Kobe Bryant took it up a notch as far as the skill level. I think he was.
It's hard to. When you have to break down and nitpick, you don't want to do that to a legend who's not here with us anymore. So it's hard for me to break down the differences because I don't want nobody to think I'm hating on Kobe, so I ain't gonna do that. But there's a difference between Michael Jordan and Kobe. Just know that.
Okay.
And everybody in the basketball world that really knows that there's a difference. There is a difference.
Skill set though. We're not talking about
man, skills. I understand.
You say it's a difference. Is it that much of a difference, or is it
It's not a crazy difference. I'm not gonna sit here and say that, but it is. It's a difference though. And part of the difference is because of their physical attributes and their gifts. Michael Jordan's body type is different than Kobe's body type. And Phil Jackson, kind of explained that a little bit. Michael Jordan's hands, his body was a little bigger, stronger. The athleticism was different, the way Kobe would jump and do things versus the way Mike, But Kobe is definitely one of the most complete skill players to ever play this game. So I ain't gonna never argue that.
Okay.
But I believe Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the best player ever and the most skilled player ever.
I think they both benefited from the era that they played in, though. I think that probably, has something to do with it too.
Well, I think they can play any era. Those two,
of course,
games. They both their skill sets and the way that they play will allow them to dominate any era that they play in because they can shoot. They both can shoot, and they both could finish. They both are clutch, and they both are mean as competitive as ever.
Both have footwork is impeccable.
That's what I'm saying. The footwork is crazy, and that's what they taking out of the game now. I don't get it.
Yeah,
when you can shoot a mid-range jumper, you are unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
Because you have to respect this so they can go around you. But you have to give them, then you have to give them a little bit of space because they both got tight handles. So, that's going to give them room to shoot their threes, when they need to. I mean, you can't foul them because they're going to make their free throws. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. They can go left hand, right hand, what you want,
Yeah.
Head fake.
And they know how to get you in foul trouble. And they know how to, finesse that. So
Sure.
Kobe and Mike was crazy, but Kobe had so many counters, man. He would get stopped. He had a counter for a counter. It was just
he did. But Mike had counters, but Mike didn't need a counter because you weren't gonna stop you wasn't stopping his at all.
Mike would tell you, I'm about to go right and then shoot this midi. All right. So
yeah,
you do what you gotta
do. Or I'm gonna shoot the back shoulder fade, so I'm a back shoulder head fake, you jump and then shoot it. Back shoulder, I'm gonna shoot the back shoulder one again. I'm gonna still do the back shoulder. I'm gonna head fake, then step through, and then the next time I'm gonna head fake you, and then jump into you, and then go shoot the free throw. And then the next time I'm gonna fake the back shoulder and shoot the other shoulder. Like it's a whole breakdown just off of the one move that he didn't really have to. He didn't have to do a lot of extra stuff. You know, he just worked off the fundamentals of it.
Yeah. Would you say that's because defense wasn't as tough? I feel like Kobe played in the toughest era in the NBA compared to Mike, though. So that's why I'm not
gonna say that because of defense. I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna say is that's just his greatness. Because Mike, I think Mike played in tough eras. Mike played in the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. And you gotta think in the 80s, the 80s had some great. I mean, if I start naming players, that played. I mean, we can name some. Then in the 90s, some of your favorite players that are in the 2000s got drafted in the 90s. Kobe got drafted in the 90s. Shaq got drafted in the 90s. Reggie, you know what I'm saying? Like Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway, Allen Iverson. These dudes got drafted in the 90s. So, MJ schooled a bunch of them. MJ schooled a bunch of them,
Yeah, the list of players that don't have a ring because of Michael Jordan is extensive.
I mean, yeah, or guys that will have more rings.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is what it is, though. I mean, hey, sometimes that's just how luck is. You play in an era with same thing with LeBron. But hey, it is what it is.
Kobe played in the great era though, because he got some of Jordan and some of those 90s legends, and then he got the ones in his era like the T-Mac, the Vince Carters, the Allen Iverson, and then he got the D-Wades, the Gilbert Arenases, the LeBrons, and then even KD was in the early part. So Kobe went through it. Yeah, he went through a nice era too. Hey, that is tough. That's the tough era.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I just want to say personally, man, thank you, Norris, for obviously being on the show and whatnot. I think it was a dope fire episode. But if you have any final words for our No Pump Fakes audience, it doesn't have to be like a take or anything. Just if you want it to be, fly away.
For one, I just want to say thanks for having me. This podcast has been fun. Make sure y'all keep following, subscribing to to Slam. Also give your boy a shout out, Norris Cole on Instagram. And I have a podcast, Believe in Miami Heat podcast that you can subscribe to, on Apple or, like I said, on IG or on Twitter. And so, I appreciated this, shout out to Heat Nation, shout out to the NBA, shout out to basketball, period, man. We all love basketball. And so this was great, man.
For sure, man. Appreciate you for being on the show.
Just like that, y'all. Shout out to Cleveland State too. Shout out to Cleveland State, man.
There you go.
Make sure y'all get that Viking on there, man.
Always got a rep.
There you go.
Hey.
All right, y'all. We out. Peace. What's up, y'all? It's Theus McBee. Make sure you go follow No Pump Fakes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.